Robert Weiss's The Day the Earth Stood Still isn't something I'd normally even watch. Arriving in 1951, a science fiction film, just doesn't bode well for me liking it, as I generally find the 1950s era of the genre overrun with hammy acting and some really bad special effects. However, I've been having a sci-fi marathon with my kids this month, and wanted to give them a taste of the classics, even if they ended up finding the movie cheesy and horribly dated. I was pleasantly surprised with this film, however. It really does hold up, with some solid acting from Michael Rennie, Patricia Neal, and Billy Gray. The special effects also age better than most films of the era, including tricks used to show Rennie and Gray visiting Washington, D.C., which I didn't even notice and thought they had filmed it on location. If anything has suffered over time visually, it's one of my dad's favorite movie robots, Gort. The suit is obviously foam and moves pretty awkwardly. But it doesn't take too much suspension of disbelief to ignore its shortcomings. Where the movie really shines, though, is a solid cast, with Michael Rennie's slightly cold and just a little strange Klaatu. It's a really understated performance, just different enough to be alien, but normal enough where he can believably infiltrate human society. The heart of the film results from this as he befriends young Bobby Benson, played by Billy Gray. Now, generally, I find child actors annoying, but he was likable throughout and really sold his budding friendship with the strange Klaatu, who he sees as more as a father figure, being I believe his own father was killed during World War I. His mother's relationship with Klaatu also felt real, as she seemed to be more appreciative of his kindness to her son than just some sudden tacked-on love interest. This seems to have been an abandoned concept in the original script, as it's alluded to by her love interest Tom Stevens, who gets really jealous for no reason over their closeness. Being this character is as close as they have to an antagonist in the movie, this is easily forgiven because he comes off as more of a jerk as the movie progresses. And kudos to the screenwriters, and really the director as well, for not killing him off like they would in most modern movies. I'd almost bet he dies in the remake. The movie is 70 years old, so I'm not going to worry about spoilers, and honestly I don't understand why anyone would watch a review if that's something if you're really worried about anyway. I mean, really, how entertaining is it to hear how amazing something is, or what's just complete ass, if there's no context behind it? The plot to this movie, I'd imagine most people already know through simple osmosis anyway. It's been parodied and retreaded dozens, if not hundreds of times. Strange person, strange creature, comes to town on a mission of peace and befriends a small child before leaving. E.T., Mac and Me. In the beginning of this movie, Klaatu arrives on the planet Earth, to the amazement of the citizens of 1951. There's a really great montage of reporters from around the globe, some of them real, announcing the arrival of the alien ship. There are several montages like this throughout the movie, and they're all pretty entertaining. Our villain, our hero, Klaatu, he's on a mission. He wants to tell the people of Earth to straighten up their act and stop fighting, or the Earth's gonna be destroyed. Of course, if he just said this, the movie'd be pretty short. So he demands to tell all of the leaders of Earth at the same time. Apparently, they don't realize just how badly all of us Earthlings just don't get along. He also introduces them to his robot enforcer, Gort. But don't be scared, folks. He's just here to vaporize a weapon or three after a trigger-happy soldier shoots Klaatu. Naturally, as the army tends to do, they put Klaatu under house arrest while figuring out what to do with him. He, of course, escapes pretty easily and moves into the boarding house where young Bobby Benson lives with his mother, Helen. To learn about our culture further, he offers to take Bobby around the town. He isn't the sweet, innocent, oh shucks kid you'd imagine in his tale either. He outright just rips Klaatu off, giving him $2 whole in exchange for 2 diamonds from the alien planet. Of course, Klaatu's freedom is short-lived. Before the law catches up to him, however, he befriends the local weird scientist played by Sam Haff, turns off all the electric across the world to show humanity his power at his disposal, a la the monsters are due on Maple Street. And we can only imagine how crazy everyone would get if someone were to, mess with Twitter. Before finally revealing his plan to Helen. This film has a lot of interesting visual choices and shots, which is unusual from what I've seen in 1950s science fiction movies. One of which is when Klaatu explains his mission to Helen finally. They're stuck in the elevator when the power's out, and there's this unnatural light source filtering through that really wouldn't be there, but it's in a grid shape, invoking the image of a confessional. After this, our anti-hero, Klaatu, he did threaten to destroy the Earth after all, ends up being shot yet again, but this time he's killed, which sends Gort on a tirade. I'm guessing Gort was the blueprint for this Thor villain, the Destroyer. Or maybe, just maybe, there are just 2 giant silver robots with a visor right on his face that flips up and shoots laser beams. It's all a coincidence. He definitely is effectively scary in the finale here, though. After vaporizing 2 soldiers who were just minding their own business, you really have to worry for Helen, even though this is a 1950s movie, as she attempts to stop the Juggernaut from space, armed only with those famous words, Klaatu Barada Nikto, supplied by a dying Klaatu. And to her credit, Patricia really sells her fear as she approaches him, knocking over, falling over a chair or 2. In typical 1950s sci-fi fashion, however, everything ends up okay, and a revived Klaatu leaves with one last warning to mankind that we obviously still haven't heeded. Stop making war. Overall, The Day the Earth Stood Still is definitely a film I would recommend. I can see why it's been a classic all of these years, and will definitely be adding it to my DVD collection.